Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Joe. Welcome back to another episode of the Inside Our Phillies podcast. The Phillies have lost 2 out of 3 to the Cleveland Guardians in this holiday weekend series. Started off Friday night, where the Guardians got the 1-0 win. Phillies came roaring back on Saturday, I guess evening, we'll call it. 6 o'clock is when that game ended up starting with a 3-0 win. And then finally, the Phillies lost Sunday afternoon by a score of 3-1. So low scoring series across the board. Each team is only able to put 4 runs across the plate in the entire series. I feel like this is not the first time this season that we've seen these very pitching centric series. Solo podcast today, so no guests. So let's kind of jump right into it. I might have to take a moment from time to time to pause and drink some water in this podcast, just to let everybody know. But yeah, let's get right into it. I don't know how much there is to really say about Friday's game. Gavin Williams, he looked really good for the Guardians. I don't know if we gave him enough respect before the game, because I think we kind of not poo-pooed him, but we just didn't realize the threat that he was on the mound. But he looked excellent, like truly excellent. I think it was maybe one of the best starts any pitchers had against the Phillies this year. 8 innings, 11 strikeouts, only the 4 hits, no walks. That's pretty beautiful to see. And then Cade Smith shut things down for the Guardians. Chris Sanchez, though, he extended his scoreless streak, which now we're well into exceptional territory, as it's longer than Cliff Lee's streak, about a decade and a half ago. And I remember that Cliff Lee streak like it was yesterday. It's like a whole month that he went without allowing any runs, and we're at that point now with Sanchez. The month of May is almost done. Christopher Sanchez has not allowed any runs in the month of May. It's incredible stuff. So he went 8 innings. He also allowed 4 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. I think the impressive thing with Sanchez, right, is he did not look like his best stuff was there on Friday. Like he was, I don't want to say struggling through it, but, it was not peak Sanchez. But nonetheless, he comes out with a pitching line that is tremendous, and he more than does his job. I think we've kind of seen the the Cy Young race. You don't want to say that like it's tightened or loosened, or you don't want to really make any kind of big statements about it in May. But with the way that Paul Skeens has looked recently, it does look like the Cy Young race is a little bit more wide open. Skeens over his last 2 starts, including the one against the Phillies last Sunday, has allowed 9 runs over 10 innings, which, he still has an ERA of 3 on the season, still has a whip of .82. But Christopher Sanchez's ERA, is much lower than that. Christopher Sanchez now has a 1.62 ERA on the season. Ohtani, he's always up there for the Cy Young as well, though I think the big question is how many innings is Chris Sanchez going to, have more than Ohtani? Because Ohtani is probably not going to, pitch a full season, at least compared to Chris Sanchez. So interesting stuff there. Then obviously the backbreaking hit in the 9th, Duran came in to protect the tie game, kind of to get into the bottom of the 9th, which I think was a good call by Mattingly. I'm all for using your best pitchers in the high leverage situations, and that is the point that the Phillies were at on on Friday. It was the heart of the lineup for the Guardians. I want the best pitcher we have in the game there, right? Like I don't want to put in some mid-tier relief pitcher and hope to get through it. I want to put our best guy at their best guys and see how the chips fall. But unfortunately, Kyle Manzardo pinch hit for Rhys Hoskins, hit a home run, and the Phillies went down pretty easily in the bottom of the 9th to Cade Smith to give the Guardians the win. I guess I just brought up Rhys Hoskins' name. I do think that it's fun to have Rhys Hoskins back. I can't believe that it's been really 4 years at this point since we've seen him play for the Phillies. Obviously, he was under contract for the 23 season, never suited up to play. It doesn't feel that long ago, does it? Like it feels to me like it should be like 2 years ago that Rhys Hoskins was still a Philly, but that's not the case. I hope that one day he gets a Wall of Fame spot. Will he? I don't know, but I think that he was a tremendous person, a tremendous representative of the Phillies, and he really held down first base, right? Like these hot streaks that Rhys Hoskins would go on in 2018, 19, all the way through the time that he left the team. He could carry the team on his shoulders for a long time. And did he hurt the Phillies a little bit in this series? A little bit, right? Like he got the RBI double today. Got thrown out at third, which was funny to see. But Rhys Hoskins had a pretty good series, and that's something that I like to see, and that I'm happy that he was able to show out, because I'm sure he still has a lot of people that mean a lot to him in Philadelphia. So good to see Rhys Hoskins back as always. Now, moving on into Saturday's game, this was one where the Phillies won. Zach Wheeler pitched and looked pretty fantastic, right? Like he got through 6 innings, maybe not the most efficient innings of all time, but he got 6 strikeouts over those 6 innings, only allowing 3 base runners, one via a walk, two via hits. And then the bullpen kind of shut the door, only allowing 1 hit and no walks over their 3 innings of work for Kirkering, Keller, and Duran. So pitching was fantastic, right? And I don't think pitching is the concern for this team. I don't think the pitching has ever been the concern for this team. I think it's been the offense, right? And we'll get into that a lot more later on as well. But on Saturday, the offense was kind of only a couple man show. Bryce Harper 3 for 4, a couple runs scored. Real Muto picked up a couple of hits as well, which was nice to see. But really, the team has struggled offensively, and I think that we're seeing a lot of that come from the top of the order in Kyle Schwarber and in Trey Turner. These are the two guys to me that I think have been struggling the most. You look over the last 7 days for Trey Turner, and he's hitting about 170 over that time. Kyle Schwarber does not have a hit over the last 7 days, though, of course, he missed a few games in there, so that is going to explain some of that. But who are the guys that you really trust in the lineup right now? And I believe that Kyle Schwarber is going to come roaring back, and we're going to trust him at some point later on in the year. But right now, who do you trust? I think you can certainly trust Bryce Harper. He has done his job, and I think that is probably the most steady that you feel about anybody in this lineup. Alec Boehm has looked pretty good, and I think that there's questions on if that will continue, but he kind of continues to be a guy that is frustrating to watch, but you're mostly going to trust him to at least get the ball in play. So I think that's good to see. But other than that, where are you trusting guys, right? Like Marsh has kind of cooled down to some extent as well. Stott, I guess he's been okay, but he's not blowing anybody away. He's not really doing, I think, what we were hoping he was going to do before the season. So I don't know. It kind of has me in like a little bit of an unsteady spot. And Trey Turner, I think, has been probably the biggest disappointment. You look at his stats since May 1st, and he is 16 for 86. So this is not where we were hoping that he would be. It's a 186 batting average, with only 1 home run, 5 runs batted in. That's not where you want him to be. If you look at him OPS wise, his OPS since May 1st is below 500. It sits at 496. And I think that Turner is somebody that we can truly be concerned about at this point. His defense, I think, has stabilized at shortstop. There were some points earlier in the season that his defense looked quite bad. And if you look at Savant, his defense still does grade out as below average. And he has a fairly blue savant page overall. But the bat is bad. The bat for Trey Turner is really, really bad. Ninth percentile batting run value, 18th percentile, X WOBA, 23rd for the X slug. And you look at him being, roughly average in the strikeouts, below average in walks, and it's a bad picture. And with Trey Turner now being 32 years old, which kind of crazy that he's 32, right? Like I would not have guessed that he was already 32. Um, I don't want to say it's over. You can certainly get production, in your mid 30s, but it's not the expectation like it used to be, right? Like I think a lot of people, including me sometimes, have like this picture in our head that, somebody's peak is from like 28 to 33 or something like that. But in modern baseball, we're really seeing guys peak significantly earlier than that, right? Like I'd say that somebody's peak nowadays, you're looking like 25 through 29 maybe, and Turner is a few years past that, and he is struggling. His baseball reference WAR on the season so far sitting at 0.2, so he's on pace for less than a single win above replacement, which is not what we're hoping for, not what we're paying this much money for, especially since he was excellent last year. Last year, he definitely was the best that he's been on the Phillies. If he didn't get hurt at the end of the season there, he would have been pushing for 6 WAR on the season. And I know WAR isn't everything, but it is like an easy way to summarize things. And that's really, I think been the biggest fault of this lineup. But anyways, let's move on a little bit to the game today. This was a game that was managed a little bit chaotically by the Guardians, who were kind of selling out a little bit for the win with the way that they were making pitching changes in the middle of innings and all of that kind of fun stuff. But it worked for them, and I think they managed the game very well. But on the Phillies side, Andrew Painter started. This was kind of like a prototypical Painter start, right? He got through 6 in the third, which is good to see. He was more efficient as well, only throwing 82 pitches over that 6 in the third innings. But continuing to allow base runners at a decent rate, allowing 8 base runners, 6 hits, 2 walks over that time frame, and only 3 strikeouts. So, like, I continue to be cautious with Painter. I think he's been better than what I was expecting before the season. I think I said that I was predicting him to have an ERA above 6, and right now he's sitting at 5.40 for his ERA. So, I feel better about Painter being a solid, 5, maybe a 4 for this year. And maybe kind of as he continues to mature and improve, hopefully he can become, a 2. I struggle to see him being an ace, right? Like I look at the pitcher that the Guardians had today, Parker Messick. This is a guy that is another young pitcher. He's a little bit older than Painter, but he was also I think a college guy. He got drafted out of college, not high school. So, those players tend to debut a little bit later. And he looked better than Painter did, right? Like he had 6 strikeouts over 5 2/3. His ERA for the season is nearing 2. It's 2.24. And I think you just look around the league right now and you see a lot of young pitchers that are excellent, right? Like the other day, Trey Savage and Schlittler for the Yankees and Blue Jays going head to head. That was an exciting matchup. And Andrew Painter is just not at that point, right? Like if he was striking out guys at a higher clip, I would feel better. And I still do feel okay, right? Like I feel like I'm sounding really quite negative right now when that's not the vibe that I want to give off. Because I don't think he is a disaster, and I thought there was a real chance of him being a disaster heading into this season. But there's definitely improvement still on the table. And I don't think that Andrew Painter is somebody that I would trust against, a playoff roster, especially like one of the top end offenses in the league, right? Like the Guardians are probably going to be a playoff team, but that's going to come off the backs of their pitching more than their offense. But with that being said, Painter's next start is going to be in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, and that'll be a good one to watch. The offense today pretty futile. Schwarber, a couple hits, Stott, a couple hits, but for the most part, uh, pretty bleak. Edmundo Sosa in left field. I think I'm ready for the experiment to end. I think you could argue that Edmundo Sosa cost the Phillies like 2 runs today, right? Like he misplayed a couple of balls in left field, slipping and allowing the first run to score, and then the little bit of the bobble on the second one, and he's not a left fielder, right? Like I guess I appreciate the creativity to have him try out left field, but it doesn't seem like a real solution for me. Um, I kind of think I'm at the point where I just want to see Marsh and Crawford and Garcia, I guess, like every single day. I am more of a fan of platoons than I think most people are. I think a lot of people hate platoons, and that's fair. They can be frustrating to watch because you're not seeing the same guys every day. But I think it's fun, right? Like it's usually a way that you can extract a little bit of an edge, a little bit of a margin that you can use to kind of propel your team forward and pick up a couple more wins over the course of the season. But I just think our best three outfielders are pretty clear. Maybe not best three because I don't know if like Garcia is one of our three best outfielders, but like he has some of the most room for improvement compared to where he's been, and I think we need him to be better if we want the season to get a real improvement. Um, so I don't know. I know I'm kind of rambling here, but let's turn a little bit to Reddit and see what people were saying on Reddit after the game today. I'm sure it was very positive, right? All right. Number one comment is from Coolmon. Painter pitched a decent game. He is improving. That's the one silver lining today, and I kind of think I'm with Coolmon there, right? Like he is improving. So I guess we'll take that. I know we just talked about Painter a lot, so good there. Foolish Oyster losing the Sanchez game is a crime. It is kind of a crime, right? Like Sanchez is like genuinely almost unbeatable at home, and the offense not doing anything for him is upsetting. But I think that's what we have to get used to, right? Like I was going to bring this up a little bit later in the podcast, but this pitching is excellent across the board. I know that at times we have nitpicked like the back end of the bullpen, the way that the 4 and 5 starters have not been consistent, and I think that's all fair, right? Like these are ways that the Phillies could be better, but the pitching is excellent. The pitching is top end, top caliber level, and really what we've seen them struggle with is the hitting. Especially the hitting is quite bad, right? Like I think we have like maybe 3 guys we trust in this lineup, with like Schwarber, Harper, and then if you want to give half a point to Marsh and half of a point to Turner, that probably sounds fair to me. But the defense of this team is also really bad. Bryce Harper is grading out as one of the worst defensive players in baseball this year. Stott is good at second. Muto, very good catching. Turner, I don't think he's looked bad, but he grades out quite poorly at shortstop. Bohm has been okay at third. But then the outfield, especially Justin Crawford in center field, leaves some stuff to be desired. And I really think that we are feeling the impact of the defense in the infield, especially with Harper. That's the one that stands out to me the most. Next comment from Swissy Studios. We pissed on two excellent starts to this series. Maybe starting Lola and Luzardo against the Padres will net us some wins. Um, yeah, I mean, I hope, right? Like, I really hope so. But this West Coast swing has, the real possibility of being tough for the Phillies. I generally do not trust them when it comes to the West Coast, which I think is where most fans are at. And they're also two good teams that they're going against compared to the earlier West Coast swing, which I think went better than people were expecting against the Rockies and then the Giants. The two teams the Phillies are going against, and the Padres and the Dodgers, are both quite a bit better than both of those teams. So um, I'm concerned as we head into this series. We'll have to see what happens, and we'll preview it a little bit more later on. Um, so I think that's going to be all for the comments on Reddit. But I do have actually one more from fellow mod Ninju NJ. The San Diego series into the LA Dodgers series is really going to tell us a lot about this team. I would probably extend this to the Padres series coming back in Philadelphia as well. It'd be one thing to be calm and understand that, well, we still have a lot of baseball left, but our organization signaled that something was wrong when we fired our manager. And while we had that incredibly easy stretch of games and did well, the Reds and Guardians series seemed like we really are the same team. That's the big question. Who are the real Phillies? The Padres are very similar to the Phillies in that they have, kind of beaten up the bad teams this year. They've been a little bit better against the bad teams and a little bit better against the good teams. But I think overall, the Phillies and the Padres are remarkably similar. So I'm very intrigued to see what they do. It's going to be fun to see Nick Castellanos again. I think that'll be interesting at the very least. Um, so I don't know. There's, I think, a lot of time left, but at the same time, there's not a lot of time left because we are about 2 months away from the trade deadline, and the Phillies are going to have to make a choice at some point on what they want to do at the trade deadline. I remain optimistic that they have a chance to pull themselves out of this and they have a chance to, be buyers at the deadline. But I am not foolish enough to think that they are certainly going to be buyers or that it is a given because we're heading into a very challenging part of the schedule. West Coast swing followed by getting the Padres again and then go to Toronto, play more playoff teams, all of that kind of stuff. It is going to be tough. And we're going to learn a lot about the Phillies. So, looking at the playoff odds on Baseball Reference and on Fangraphs first, Baseball Reference has the Phillies at a 34% playoff percentage. It has the division is like essentially wrapped up. The Braves at a 97.8% chance to win the division, which is crazy for May 24th. And in Fangraphs, the Phillies are at 56.5% to make the playoffs. I think I'm probably at about like 50-50. Not that I want to be a fence sitter, but I think it's where I am with this one right now. You look across the National League, and I think you can feel like pretty confident about the Brewers making the playoffs. The Cubs, even though they've been scuffling, they're very likely to make the playoffs. You have the Dodgers and the Padres, both very likely to make it in the West. So then you kind of have like a big mix of like the Diamondbacks, the Pirates, the Cardinals, the Reds, the Phillies, and like maybe another team comes in, but at this point I think you could pretty much rule out the Mets and the Rockies and all the teams below, right? You can pretty much rule them all out. So you have a bunch of teams that are battling for essentially one spot, maybe two if the Cubs continue to fall out of it. And I'd be lying if I said that the Phillies felt like the most likely team to come out of it from that mix of teams, right? Like we just saw them struggle against the Guardians, who are in the American League, but probably roughly similar to that tier of teams. We just saw them lose a series to the Reds, who are probably the worst of those NL Central teams. And yes, they swept the Pirates last weekend, which is good to see. But I think that it's still far from a guarantee that the Phillies make the postseason. So I don't know. I've been rambling a lot about different things, but let's look ahead a little bit to the probable starters in San Diego. Monday is a night game here, late afternoon game in San Diego, 6:40 start Eastern time. Luzardo is going against Randy Vasquez for the Padres. Tuesday, this is a night game, so 9:40 Eastern. Aaron Nola against former Met Griffin Canning. And then Wednesday, we have Christopher Sanchez going against former Philly Walker Buehler. So Padres have a fantastic bullpen, one of the best bullpens in the entire league. But their starting rotation is not great, right? Like Vasquez is a pretty good starting pitcher, but Luzardo is as well. And then Canning has struggled so far this year, and Walker Buehler is pitching to a 5 ERA. So I think the Phillies have a chance this series. I think that there are still plenty of concerns to be had about the offense, and we'll learn more about the offense this series as we do in every series. But please win 2 out of 3. Like if you're going to win a series on the West Coast against the Padres, this is one where they have a good chance. So that is what I'm hoping to see today or this upcoming series. So with that being said, thank you all for listening. We will talk to you all after this Padres series, so probably either Wednesday night or Thursday. We'll get the episode out prior to the Dodgers series starting Friday. So enjoy the West Coast swing. These are some of my favorite games usually. I love the Phillies late at night. Special feelings when that's what's happening. So talk to you all later on, and go Phils.